Welcome back. It's good to see everyone here. Tonight, we have a very special guest who is not here yet, but he assures me he is on the way. So, welcome. I just want to let folks know you're listening to United Public Radio. The intro music was by Mark of the Doomslayer by Carl Casey at Whiteback Bat Audio. And today's guest will be Lyn Buchanan, who is now retired from the U.S. Army Intelligence. He has used remote viewing to assist police and federal agents in locating missing children, and founded Problem Solutions Innovations, a company that helps corporations develop solutions for intelligence-related data acquisition. Considered to be one of the best remote viewing trainers, he lives in Alamogordo, Mexico. So as soon as he joins, I will I'll bring him on to the channel. But in terms of let's see how everybody's doing tonight. Good evening, Anthony Jones. It's always a pleasure to see you, my friend. Hello, Talk No Mo. Hope I pronounced that properly. JML, let's go, my friend. Absolutely. Should be interesting. It's already interesting. I last week was supposed to be Terry Lovelace, and I think he had like a scheduling issue, so he's going to be next week. This week is Lyn Buchanan, as you all know, but I'm still waiting for Lyn to join. He's working on some communications issues, so now it's about as good a time as any as what I'm going to cover with Lyn on the interview is we're going to go back all the way from the beginning. So if folks are familiar with Through a Glass Darkly, the YouTube channel, and for folks who are listening, this is Through a Glass Darkly Radio with Sean Patrick Hazlett. For folks who are familiar, a lot of this is going to be what we covered in some of the interviews with Lyn on the channel. There'll probably be a little bit more. All right, he's joined us. He's joined us. I just don't see his face yet. So he's got the background going, but while he's getting everything settled, what kind of questions do folks, to the extent that I have time working in outside of the regular routine, if you have questions, let me know. Okay, yeah, he's got a lot of those. Oh, he just disappeared again. So hopefully he's back on. Um, yeah, hopefully we get to that. Yeah, he's feeling fine. He's just working out comms, stuff. I hope he's not getting nervous because he took down all the comms infrastructure and all the skiffs across Europe. That should be part of his story. But and by the way, JML asked for people who are listening. Let's get to his interactions with NHI. Let me see if I can talk to Lyn. I don't want to add him to the stage yet, but let's see. Well, I mean, it is radio, so Lyn, can you hear me? Let's just bring him to the well, just let's see what happens. See if I'm feeling lucky. Lyn, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear now, but I can't
Oh,
see
okay,
you.
good. I've been having all kinds of trouble. It wouldn't take my camera, it wouldn't take my microphone, it wouldn't take anything.
Yeah. Are you still having?
Computers.
Well, I mean, you have some experience with taking them down, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, are you able to get visual at all? If not, we can just fight through it because a lot of
Yes,
this is on video anyway.
the microphone is, uh, well, my earphones aren't working. Nothing. Okay, I will just try it. This is audio only.
Right now it is, but
Oh,
people can see on video too, though.
Okay, try it again. I'm sorry.
All right. It's both audio and video. On radio, they'll hear you on radio, but the
Yeah.
they can also see on video. Right now, we just see the mountains. I think behind your house.
Yeah. Oh, that's a painting I did.
No, that's right. That's right. Yes, they can see the
Yeah.
painting and they can see your name.
Stop cam. How do I select a cam?
You got it to change very very briefly to whatever you just did, but it wasn't showing you. It was just showing the.
Yeah. The camera is turned on and working. Uh, oh, press Control plus E. No. How do I set it up for the camera? I see one for the microphone settings, uh,
Let's
virtual
see.
background camera. Okay.
Oh yeah. You're in the settings. So let's see. Let me
Definition.
see what
Yeah.
I'm. So yeah, just go to camera, and then
Okay.
there'll be a list of selections,
Okay.
right?
But there are no, oh, okay. Try this one.
Here, let me.
And that one didn't work. Uh,
He's got another one. The device is not connected. All right, let's look at the other questions and work this out. Look, 90% of the battle is the guest shows up. So, all right. So some of the questions. Has he piloted a craft? I can answer that. Yes. Or he claims. Um, how is the remote viewing ranch coming along? Okay. Yeah, we can get into that. Sky pilots. Yeah. Yeah. How about viewing the election and then the future in intervals of 50 years? Yeah, the next 20 years, like the current 20 years that we're in, are a little rough. Um, we'll try to get through everything before we get to that. I don't think he likes to talk about that as much anymore. Um, during the largest company's corporate call, same thing happens during the largest. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm just bobbing and weaving. Like I said, the toughest part is making sure that um, so if Lynn can hear me, your device is not connected for whatever reason. Um, all right, what other questions do people have that want me to take a shot at? There we go. Let's go. Brandon says, "What do you think of the idea that forecasting the future helps to manifest the outcome?" He's got a good example of that actually, because sometimes it can change the outcome. Um, but it just depends on how certain the potential is. If it's a rock or if it's a if it's a fly, kind of is the answer. Hey, how you doing, Mark? Trying to get Lynn on. He's on, but he's having some technical difficulties. So we're just going through various questions that people might have. Let's see. I'm just gonna send him an email. All right. Sorry, folks. This is multitasking in real time. This is this is very professional here. We're very professional. Okay, so Mark Rennie is saying is remote viewing based on the fact that everything is connected. Yeah, that's a great question for David Morehouse. He's going to tell you about the 8-dimensional holographic field and all that. Okay, I think Lynn's back. All right, Lynn, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yeah, just fine. I can also hear myself. Stream this to your audience.
Oh, you don't worry about that unless you wanted
Okay,
to go
yeah.
to your own
Okay.
YouTube channel. All
Uh,
right, we got some progress. We got an icon now.
we have an icon at least. Yeah. Settings. Camera. Where's your camera? Camera.
Oh, I just saw. Do you have a green screen behind you?
I have a green screen behind me. Yeah. Uh huh.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ah, it works.
that's the
Of
most
course.
excitement of my night. All
Uh,
right,
it's amazing.
it's good to see you again, my friend.
Oh, good seeing you. See if I can get this thing to focus now. The thing is, I was just on a Zoom call and it was working fine.
Well, you're switching from Zoom to StreamYard, so it's gonna be kind of weird,
I
right?
see. Okay. Yeah.
So, all right, we'll get into everything kind of quickly, and then a lot of my viewers watch the YouTube channel, so they will have heard a lot of this stuff, but we're going to go through from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I kind of know the story, at least I think I do, but I obviously don't know the full story. But we'll start all the way back when you were a kid, when you started to see. I don't know if you interpreted it as poltergeist activity, even though we kind of you have a sense
Oh,
for what it really was.
I had
Yeah.
no idea what poltergeist activity was. I'd never heard of it.
All right. Well, when you were kind of younger, when did you start? Like, when did the strange things start
I
happening?
guess
That gave
when
you a sense
I
that you were different.
was about 12, somewhere around there.
And then, can you explain some of the kind of incidents that happen?
I just started kind of knowing when the phone was going to ring.
Hmm.
I'd start answering questions before they were asked, things like that.
How did people
Just
react to that? Can you give an example of that where like that
not too
happened? Or
well. My father, especially, he he thought, oh great, I've got a I've got a freaky son. My mother, my mother was just accepted, accepting of it totally.
all right. So, any other incidents from childhood that were kind of noteworthy?
Uh, yeah. Um, at one point, um, I uh, well, I remember the day. Uh, I was out with a bunch of other kids, and we were throwing rocks at this big iron plate, and I mean, huge iron plate leaning up against a wall. And I threw a rock, and I heard sort of a voice in my head that said, "Go through."
Hmm.
And the rock went through the iron plate, hit the
Hmm.
wall behind it, and landed on the ground. And all of us were watching this, and we ran up and looked, and there was the rock behind the plate. And I thought, that's neat. And so
Was
I
there any
started,
damage to the plate at
no,
all?
there wasn't a hole, there wasn't anything. It just went through. And so I started playing with it and got to where I could do it uh, on command. And um, my life kind of parallels Charlie Brown's, Uh, I was trying to impress the cute little redheaded girl one day, and I told her, and she was impressed. and she went home and told her father, the uh, Pentecostal minister,
Oops.
and the next day he and three of his deacons met me on the way home from school, and he said, "Could you show me that?" And when I showed him that, they slammed me down onto the sidewalk, had my head pressed against the sidewalk, screaming for the devil to come out of me, and uh, just, you know, the way I was raised, if the preacher said it, then God
Right.
said it.
Right.
And
You
so,
trust institutions back then. I
oh,
mean,
yeah.
Right.
And I never thought there might be something evil to this. I thought it was neat. And so I started trying to suppress it.
Hmm.
Well, it didn't suppress, um, and has recurred all through my life. Uh, when I was in Augsburg, Germany,
Yeah. So let's get
years
to
later.
yeah.
Yeah,
Let's get to the point where you enlist in the army.
yeah,
I think you did a period of time and then left the army. Kind of became a
yeah. I did
minister
a
and then
period
came
of
back.
time as
Yeah.
a missile man.
Hmm.
I left the army for about 12 years and went back in. I went in to become a chaplain. Uh, they gave me these tests, and uh, I could speak five languages.
Wait, did they make you
The
take
IQ.
the DLAT test, the Defense Language Aptitude Test, where they
Oh
give you a
yeah.
briefing? Did they
Oh
give you
yeah.
the same briefing they gave me, where they said like if you reveal the contents of this test, you
Oh
get 20
sure.
years of hard labor?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
read
yeah,
you on. Yeah, 10
yeah,
years
yeah,
and
yeah. I took that test too.
$10,000 fine. Yeah,
Yeah, and it
and
said hard labor. Like they explicitly said 10
yeah.
years hard labor.
Well, I
But
maxed the DLib test and finished it about 10 minutes early, and they said they'd never seen that before. So anyway, they pushed me into um, intelligence service, and that's where I stayed the rest of my time. Um,
okay, fast forward to Augsburg, where you were going.
that's
What
what.
happens in Augsburg?
Oh yeah,
Augsburg,
that's why
Germany.
I
Yeah.
wound up in Augsburg. Yeah, I don't know what this computer is doing over here. Uh, okay, um, and so there in Augsburg, I had been commissioned to write a massive program that would tie the computers of 12 different countries together
Hmm.
and get them talking to each other. And took me about 6 months. And when I was showing it, we had the commanding generals of 12 different countries,
Hmm.
and I had I had gotten the commission over this other sergeant who wanted to write the program. And when I was demonstrating it, uh, he had gimmicked up the program without me knowing it. And I gave my little song and dance and uh,
And by the way,
turned
who was in
around.
the audience? This is really important. Who was in the audience? Who were you
Oh,
presenting to?
the commanding generals, and also this captain had stepped into the room to see a collection of generals bigger than he had ever seen before. And I didn't know that he had been commissioned by General Stubblebine, head of
Hmm.
the Intelligence and Security Command, to find and identify people who had psychic ability. And so, anyway, he had trained them to see it. And so anyway, I pressed the enter key to show show the program, and the computer went dead. Not only did it go dead, well, it went dead. Everybody started laughing at me, and I turned around and looked, and this other sergeant was at the back door of the room and said, "Gotcha," and turned around and walked out. I got flaming mad. And when I did, the entire field station went down. Um, I didn't know it at the time until years later that intelligence computers basically throughout Europe and all that had also gone down. But I knew what happened, and I thought, man, I will be paying for a computer. My grandkids will be paying for computers and all that. So I didn't say anything about it. But this captain reported me to the general.
And when you say intelligence computers, you mean like all the computers in the skiffs across Europe, the secret compartmented,
And
or
in
or.
our skiff was the only one I knew it about the time.
Mhm.
Uh,
What about the
but
Soviets? What about the like on the other side of the? Because this is in the 80s. Just to be clear, right?
yeah,
Is it the 80s or
during the
yeah?
80s, yeah. Um, and so anyway, um, about 2 months later, General Stubblebine came in to install a new commander at the field station at the skiff. And uh, I was told the general wants to see you. Go get into your Class A uniform. So I went home, got enough Class A uniform, and came back and was in the new commander's office. And General Stubblebine had the ceremony to install the new commander. They came back in, and General Stubblebine, of course, was first, and the new commander was following him. He came up to me, looked at my uniform, and said, "Are you General Buchanan? I mean, Sergeant Buchanan."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Yes, sir." He took me by the arm and pushed me in front of him to go into the new commander's office, turned around to the new commander and said, "I need to talk to Sergeant Buchanan. Get out." Guess what list I went to the top of for the rest of the time I was
Yeah,
there?
it's a list that rhymes with hit.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
And, but anyway, um, he stood me at attention and he said, "Did you kill my computers with your mind?" And I was going to lie about it.
Well,
And
I mean,
I
how did you
just,
even interpret that? Did you think he was? I mean,
I
if
had
somebody
no
asked you that,
idea.
you think they would like, is this guy serious?
Yeah, because I didn't know about this captain.
Yeah.
I didn't find out about that until months later. And so I just heard myself say, "Yes, sir, I did." And he said, this grin came over his face and he said, "Far effing out. Have I ever got a job for you?" So uh, a few months later, he took me to DC. He wanted me to be the start of a unit that he had planned to destroy enemy computers,
Mm-hmm.
and with the end goal of learning how to control the data in a computer, in an enemy computer, so that we
Mm-hmm.
could mess up their programming, make their missiles turn around and go back or drop into the sea, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he went to Congress to get funding for that project. And they said, that sounds like mind control. Hell no. So he took me out to Fort Meade, Maryland,
Mm-hmm.
put me in the remote viewing unit, which I'd never heard of. And when they read me on, I was reading the read on processes, and I thought, this is crazy. The Army doesn't do this. And I thought, I'm on candid camera. Come on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, come to find out, he put me in the unit, and over the next few weeks, I watched the guys doing it, and it was amazing. Um, and so they started teaching me, and within a couple of years, um, the person who had been training uh, shipped out, and I became the trainer of the unit for the first time for the last for the rest of the time I was there.
So, what years were you there from? Like, what year did you join the unit, and then what year did you leave?
Um, 83 to I was there for 8.5 years. So 83 to
Like
90,
91, 92, something like
91,
that.
92, 92. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you were there when Able Archer. Were you there when Able Archer happened, or were you there shortly? Because that was in '83. That was when
After,
there was almost a new.
after.
Okay, all right. So you were in Augsburg. That incident probably happened close to when Able Archer happened. Sounds like same
Yeah.
year, right? Anything about that, or is that the classified part? Okay,
Not,
I won't push.
not to speak of.
Yeah. So for folks in the audience, just for the historical background of I think it was Able Archer. That's the right name of the event, right? It's public. It's all public. But there was a huge military exercise that was happening with NATO, and the Soviet Union was kind of freaking out because they thought it was the prelude to an actual exercise, right? Because if you look at the recent war in Ukraine with Putin, they had a huge military exercise, and they usually precede an actual invasion with an exercise as a cover. So the Russians or the Soviets at the time, I believe, thought that huge exercise, which was only really it was only an exercise, was a
Yeah.
cover for prelude to potential nuclear war. So it was really tense. All right, so you're in Europe during that time, and you've never set a precise date for when all the skiffs went out. But if I were the other thing you didn't mention is that the Soviets at the time, I think you found out subsequently that their secret communications network also went out. You found that out after the Cold War. Is that correct?
I
During the same
found
period of time.
that out years later. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not saying this is the right timeline, and you have not said anything, but there's this is kind of the same time period this happened. If you're on the Soviet side and you see your communications network suddenly shut off, maybe before, after, during a large military exercise, you might actually think it's the beginning of an attack. You might think it's an EMP or something like
From what I learned later, there was panic on both sides. Yeah.
that. Okay. All right. I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to push for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Okay. So 1983, you head to the United States to Fort Meade, Maryland. When you're told about this program, who introduced it to you? Is it Skip Atwater or was it somebody else?
Oh, well, yeah, Skip was the operations officer when I came into the unit. Um, when I started, he took me over to the building where we did our actual remote viewing work. And he sat me down and he said, "Look around this room." And I said, "Okay." And it was a room. And he said, "I want you to know something. In this room, it's okay to be psychic." And all of a sudden, all of that weight of my head being pressed into the sidewalk and all that burden of trying to suppress it and all that, it just went away. It was something about the way he said it, and it just went away. And I thought, yeah, this is the job I want. And it was the best job I've ever had in my life.
Okay, so you find out about the program, then you have to be trained to do it.
Yeah.
How did that process work? And this is back before all these protocols were created and all that stuff. This is who trained you and what did that process look like? And I know it's since
Yeah.
changed a lot, but
Up until that time, Ingo Swan had trained everybody in the unit. Now, the week before I got there, this is story of my life.
mm-hmm.
Uh, Ingo lost his job with Stanford Research, and so the guys in the unit who had been trained by Ingo started training me. And so, even though I became really good friends with Ingo later, I got trained by the guys in the unit,
Mm-hmm.
which means they were trained to remote view. And then they went back to the unit and learned how to apply it to actual military operations. When I came in, I learned, first of all, how to apply it to military operations and learned the remote viewing through that. So I had sort of a backward training thing, but it worked. Yeah.
I mean, do you think it matters which direction it goes, or is it better to kind of have a generalized? Okay, because you basically started from the specific and then eventually went to the general,
Right.
whereas
Yeah.
everybody else kind of started before
But
you.
uh,
Yeah.
but learning the English Swan process is standard. You start out by they call out a series of basic aspects of any site,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll say
The
land,
gestalt, the gestalt,
water,
so to
good the
speak, right?
gestalts, yeah, uh, land, water, space, motion, activity, things like that, and you practice doing a absolute minimal uh, line graphic representation of water,
Mm-hmm.
you know, land, of space, and things like that. And you do this repeatedly. By
Mm-hmm.
repeatedly, I mean thousands of times. It is so boring, and it's so boring that you get to where they start you out, and your conscious mind just phases out. You start thinking about other things. When that happens, your subconscious mind starts learning those ideograms. They're called ideograms. And when it gets to the point where, generally without you realizing it, you
Mm-hmm.
will do the ideogram before they call out the word, uh, that's when they know you're ready to move on into the next stage. And so they move you into the next stage, and then the next stage, and then the next stage, and so on. And at that time, the training up through stage 6 took about 6.5 to 7 months. And so I was in that boring training for all that time. Um, but the skills progressed, and now nowadays people are learning it in a 3 or 4 day course and doing. Uh, but at the time, it was about a 6 months course. Yeah,
Why does it take much faster now? Is this like a morphic resonance thing, like a
I
hyper
think
shell training?
so. Morphic resonance, the 100th monkey theory, uh, and we've learned a whole lot more uh, about how to train it, also how to use it, and so forth. Uh, I'm glad that the training is faster.
How, I mean, you probably have no way of knowing the answer to this. Maybe you do. Globally, how many remote viewers do you think are still out there?
Oh, thousands now. Remote, well, thousands of remote viewers. However, once it came out to the internet, everybody started creating their own way. The difference
Even people
is,
who weren't trained as remote
oh
viewers.
yeah, who weren't trained. There are people who immediately started saying, "Hey, you take this pendulum and you're a remote viewer," and other people said, "Hey, drink the tea, look at the grounds in the cup, and you're a remote viewer."
Yeah, it's like
And
Madame Cleo's remote viewing program.
oh
I just made
yeah,
that up.
oh, yeah,
I didn't make up Madame Cleo, but I made
yeah.
that up.
But the Inga Swan process was developed psychologically, and he didn't just make up a routine. It was developed psychologically. It's developed as a martial art. Um, the principle of it is that, and this is why you start out drawing a line.
Mm-hmm.
The principle of it is that your subconscious can talk to you through your body. And as you learn the stages, it uh, adds your other senses, smell, sight, hearing, and all that, to the physical thing of drawing a line and drawing sketches and all that. And so it gradually teaches you how to use your entire body
Mm-hmm.
to let your subconscious talk to your conscious mind and to let your conscious mind cue the subconscious. And here's the secret to the Inga Swan process: it is an interview and report process. Your subconscious mind is psychic, your conscious mind isn't. But if you can teach the two to talk to each other, your conscious mind can cue the subconscious with a question and report the answer. So the CRV process created by Ingo Swan is actually just something that, hey, every radio and TV interviewer should learn, uh, because that's what it does. It teaches you to ask questions that are pertinent
Mm-hmm.
and report purely and accurately what is said. And you know yourself, so many interviewers will hear the answer and turn around and give their interpretation of
Mm-hmm.
what their guest just said. Wrong. Because most of the time, that's not what the guest said.
Right, right. It's and sometimes the interviewer will lead the guest into a narrative
Oh,
that they
yeah.
want to
Yeah.
portray. Right.
Yeah.
So as you're talking about when you're talking about the subconscious communicating with the conscious, one of the one of the folks listening, Mark Rennie, was asking if remote viewing is based on what kind of the notion that everything is connected in some way.
Oh, it's not based on that, but the fact is that everything is connected.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things you learn in the higher stages is that I can give you a target of a flash drive,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And once you get to where you're accurately describing that flash drive and all, I can say, okay, move to the place where it was manufactured. Now, move to the history of that place. Now, move 8,000 miles to the east, and, you know, and at that point, from that flash drive, I can get you anywhere in space and time because it's all connected. It really is. Yeah.
So another question related to that. So I think David Morehouse refers to it as kind of the 8-dimensional holographic field or something like that,
Yeah.
whereas a projection, you should be able, if there's a project like a shadow, you should be able to, that shadow should have all the information in it
Yeah.
that is in the whatever projected the shadow.
Right.
So in a sense, our dimensional reality is a projection, and you can get to a greater dimensional reality by
Oh,
projecting
yeah.
backward into the and remote viewing operates off of some aspect of that. I'm not sure exactly how it works. In fact, I don't think many physicists are who use this, but um, that seems like something that maybe fits into this connection thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in this remote viewing unit. You get through the training, and the other thing I want to remind people is you're listening to Through a Glass Darkly Radio with Sean Patrick Hazlett on United Public Radio, and
Mhm.
Lyn Buchanan is my guest. So I had to do that. It's a little. I know it's a little. All right. So you get through training. Okay. What sorts of targets, to the extent that you can discuss them, did they put you on when you were first
Well,
there?
of course, training targets.
Mm-hmm.
And the training targets were largely just pictures and stories out of National Geographic. But in doing that, they taught you the mechanics, the
Mm-hmm.
structure, the processes, and it's no different from any other martial art. You know, they don't
Mm-hmm.
teach you to fight; they teach you to go haw, haw, yeah, and and so on. And then once you learn the tools and how to use them,
Mm-hmm.
and you develop the skills, then they start you out with uh, more complex targets. They
Right.
will start you then with already solved projects
Mm-hmm.
and to see if you can get the answer that's right. And once you get to where you can view and get the right answer, that they already have feedback, they database your work to get a dependability rating.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get a dependability rating, you can give them a target. And I mean, they can give you a target and, a target they don't know the answer to, but they will know from the database how dependable you are
Right.
at colors, sounds, smells, taste, textures, temperatures, things like that. because all those things are databased. And so they find out your strengths and weaknesses. Uh, and then when they move you into operations, task you toward your strengths and continue your training toward your weaknesses. And it's a very scientific, very logical process. There's no woo woo about it. There's no woo woo
Right.
at all.
And is this something that everybody can do if they're trained properly?
I've never found anybody who can't do it. Yeah. I've found a
That-
lot of people who won't because it scares them or because of some religious belief, something like that. Uh, but I've never found anybody who can't. IQ doesn't matter, background doesn't matter, gender, race, none of it matters.
Now, I'm asking you questions I already know the answers to, but just to make it easier for folks. What was your particular skill? Like, what were you the best at in terms of perception and remote viewing? What's your
Uh,
strength?
Several different ones. One of the more unusual ones was the ability to get into somebody's subconscious mind, a target's subconscious mind, when it's a person or an animal, something like that. And at that level, you can uh, get them to work out some hidden uh, turmoil that they've had all their life
Mm-hmm.
and get them to heal. If their sickness is caused by some inner turmoil, you can get them to heal, but you get them to heal themselves.
All right, I got a really strange question for you. I have to ask this, and I'll tell you where I heard this strange question, so I don't sound like a maniac. So, Grant Cameron once claimed that you were remote viewing Saddam Hussein, and I can see everyone can see your eyes for folks who are not listening but are watching.
Yeah,
They can see your eye color is kind of like a slate blue kind of
yeah.
color. I gotta ask this: when you were, if you were remote viewing Saddam, because I don't know if that's true either. It's an allegation.
Mhm.
Did your eye color change briefly to brown?
Once that I know of, I had a witness. I never felt an eye color change, but
Mm-hmm.
once it did, but it was with really deep access. I mean, it doesn't happen on a regular basis. No.
Right. But somebody saw your eye color
Yeah,
change, like your
uh,
monitor. Is it with your monitor or was it somebody
I
else?
was, uh, I was the viewer, and the monitor was a new monitor, and saw that, and she jumped up and ran out of the room. I mean, it scared her to death. My voice changed. Uh, and she said my eye color changed. Of course, I didn't know it, so I only found out the next day. Yeah.
When that happened, what were you? Again, I have to be careful because I know some of this stuff might still be classified. So obviously,
I
I'll
was
stop you.
doing a plans and intentions uh, tasking on Saddam Hussein.
And did you actually see into his head to some extent?
Oh yeah, on plans and intentions. Yeah, you have to get into their mind, but you also have to get into their subconscious mind because their conscious mind may plan something, but their subconscious mind will either cause them to do it or stop them from doing it. So you have to really get deeply into their mind. Yeah.
Okay, so how did that feel? I mean, was it dark? Was it just a normal person? Like,
Oh, you get into somebody's mind. It's very logical. You know, in prison, there are no criminals. Uh, in the insane asylum, nobody's crazy. Uh, Everybody has a perfectly good reason for everything they do. And
mm-hmm.
yeah, Saddam Hussein, I found, was not what you would call a bad person,
Well, according to him, or even
according
in
to him. Well,
right, right.
even I wouldn't say he was an evil person.
Mm-hmm.
He was nuts. He was convinced that God wanted him to rule the world and that God wanted him to do everything necessary in order to achieve that. And so he, he was sociopath,
Right.
and so he never had any morals about killing or anything like that. But he didn't do it out of meanness. He did it out of the belief that God wanted him to do it. And he was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of have to be to survive in that sort of environment,
Oh, yeah.
right? Where everybody's trying to kill you, and yeah, Chester here says that explains a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
it certainly does. All right, I have a completely off the wall question because somebody asked this earlier, and it's a good question. You got a looks like, is that a Space Force shirt you got on there?
Yeah. We now have six branches of the military. Yeah.
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 Any well, I'm going to ask, but you just shut me down immediately. You got a contract with them for remote viewing stuff, or no comment?
Not so much. I had some of their analysts come by and ask if I would be sort of an on call uh, uh, consultant. Uh, I said yes, and I haven't been on call yet. So, but I got the shirt.
Yeah, been there, got the T-shirt, right? Been there, done that, got the T-shirt. All right, let's talk about some esoteric targets, right? So there was one that you've talked about in the past where someone gave you a few individuals to observe, and it kind of got you into, you didn't know what you were remote viewing at the time because you're not supposed to know what you're remote viewing, but you saw
You've just
kind of,
narrowed this down to about 100 different sessions. Go ahead.
yeah, that's why I'm trying. So I think there were several targets. I want to say it's on the order of between 30 and 100, but it was basically you were looking at an individual before and after death. What did
Oh,
you
yeah.
what did you see? Like, what are the range of outcomes that you saw, and
Yeah.
talk through
The
some of those?
range of outcomes that I saw was that some people uh, went to what I would call heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them went to what I would call hell. And when I experienced those, I would have nightmares for months afterwards. It was horrible. I don't, I don't want to go there. Um, Another group reincarnated,
Mm-hmm.
and another group just stopped existing. Period. I never saw anybody come back as a ghost. I never did. But I only had 64 people. So
And what
um,
was the distribution and those outcomes of that 64? Was it like 25%? Was
I'm
it
not
so what's that? That would
sure.
be 16, 16, 16, 16.
No,
But or
uh,
was it skewed?
I never, I never got the exact numerical distribution. Um, but I did take a series, a sampling of them, and look up the people, and I
Yeah, this is
found
the
no
scary part.
relationship. Yeah, I found no relationship whatever to the report of their life and what I found them as a result of where they went after they died. Of course, you know, you speak nice of the dead no matter what. So who knows?
And did you get that in those experiences? This was the result of, because when you looked at their histories, you couldn't really tell if they were good or bad. But from the perspective of the person you were viewing, did you get the sense that it was something that was determined for them, or that they kind of, if they went to hell, for instance, they kind of were responsible for creating their own hell
All
or their own
all I
experience?
got was the result. Yeah, I didn't know.
And then what did you see when you saw um, someone reincarnating? What did that look like? What did that proceed?
One that I remembered was this elderly man who had been a statesman, and afterwards he became a like a 10 or 12 years old, and he was standing in his front yard, and he was wearing a cowboy outfit, and his father was taking his picture.
Wait, so
And
he just went immediately from death to an 8 to 12-year-old?
that's what I got. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Hmm.
And I don't know, is this why all of the native cultures have a coming of age ceremony when you're about 12 years old? I don't know.
Now, what about hell?
Health, I'm for it.
I mean, like, what did you like? What kind of things did you see? PG, obviously rated.
Oh, you
So
mean those targets?
yeah.
Oh, there was a range. There was a range of it. Natural death, uh, car wrecks, uh, uh, dying in war. There was a whole range. There was a whole range of everything. Yeah.
I mean, but when you remote viewed people going to hell, what did that look like?
All I would see was this black, uh, blacker than black entrance. And the minute I would try to step in, I would be just blasted out of the session, and and just, I mean, wind up trembling and sweating and start having nightmares. Yeah. Uh, that night. Uh,
And what kind of nightmares did you have, to the extent that you can share?
all kinds of death, murder, mayhem. Uh, I would have, I would have creative dreams of how to kill people. All these creative methods for how to just torture them and kill them, and uh, and I'd wake up in the morning just oh, it was horrible. It was horrible.
What about heaven? Just to end that discussion on a happier topic.
I didn't get streets of gold. I didn't get angels or anything like that. Uh, I found that those people moved in to a life that was perfection, happiness,
Mm.
wonderful, everything they wanted, uh, loved ones that they had, and that it was absolute perfection. Yeah.
All right, let's talk some more esoteric targets, because I think sometimes they sent you on some wild rides,
Oh, yeah.
just as practice, right? Well, it's
Usually
just
practice. Practice sessions, yeah.
Usually,
Yeah.
usually. Okay, so when's the first time you started remote viewing and you kind of said there's something a little bit off about this or not terrestrial?
From the first day on,
They use that as practice.
huh? No,
They
the remote viewing the first day on, I thought, come on, this is strange. Yeah.
Well, how about the four bases? We talked about this before, but people on the radio
Oh,
haven't
yeah.
heard it.
Um,
Let's, yeah.
Unknown to me, Pat Price, one of the original remote viewers, had found four ET bases. Uh, he had passed those sessions of his on to SRI, and at
Mm-hmm.
one point, SRI passed them on to our unit. And every now and then, they would ask one of us blindly,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to view one of those targets. Uh, Through the process of the years, they sort of kept track on what was going on at these four units, and so
Right, because they couldn't confirm this with actual
they couldn't.
feedback. They
Con-
would have to correlate it based on what
well,
multiple
yeah,
remote viewers who didn't
your
talk to each other.
dependability rating, yeah,
Right, right.
and there was one uh, correlation. One time, Skip called a friend of his who worked in Alaska at a tracking station and
Mm-hmm.
asked, anything unusual going there? And the
Hmm.
guy said, no, this is the most boring job I've ever had. If it weren't for those UFOs flying around Mount Hayes, we'd never have anything.
Where was this person stationed? Like Wainwright or
I have
Fort?
no idea. I have no
Okay.
idea. Yeah. Skip
All
just
right.
said that he was within visual range of Mount Hayes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you remote view these four bases. What do you see?
At Mount Hayes, I saw a, um, a sort of entry and exit point to the planet Earth. Uh, Ships would come in, land, and it was sort of like an airport.
Mm-hmm.
And people would go on and off. Ships would come in, leave, and all that. Uh, and it was like a airport terminal.
Mm-hmm.
Now at uh, Mount Zeal
In
in
Alaska,
Alaska,
Australia,
yeah.
right?
Oh, Mount Zeal in Australia. And Mount Hayes is in Alaska. That's it.
Yeah,
Mount
yeah,
Zeal
yeah.
was Mount Zeal was the entry point, the
Okay, so that's where
terminal.
that's the
Yeah.
aircraft, or not
Um,
aircraft, but
Mount
whatever.
Hayes up in Alaska, I found tons of equipment, but that at the point where I viewed it, at the point in time where I viewed it, it was basically self operating and abandoned. There was nobody there. Now,
Hmm.
when Joe viewed it, he found not only aliens, but also uh, military, human militaries.
So this is Joe McMonigal,
Yeah.
who. Okay.
And other viewers along the way. The one in Tanganyika, I
That's
found that
in
it was
Zimbabwe, Africa.
a Zimbabwe. Yeah. Uh, Ignore the one in Tanganyika. Ignore that. Um, uh, I
I
did.
want to ask. I won't. I won't. I won't. I
You.
won't. I won't push. I won't
We did
push.
not talk about that. Okay. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Um, the one in Zimbabwe had turned into a repair station. Uh, I did not get tasked with the one at, up in Spain,
That's Mount
which was the
Perdido.
fourth one that Pat Price had done.
Yeah, I
I
think it's
never
Mount
got to ask her that
Perdido,
one.
right? Yeah.
Perdido, yeah.
Now, did you ever have any interaction? I've never asked you this question, but he might be. It might have been after your time with Luis Elizondo.
No, I
Any
didn't.
time in his career?
No.
Okay. And then, did you ever? And I don't think you would know this guy either. This Dr. Michael Moran. He's a director at DARPA.
No, no.
And then, do you have any connections, or have you ever taught at the Monroe Institute?
Um, I knew Bob Monroe, and General Stubblebine sent me to the Monroe Institute before he would take me into the unit. Uh, Basically, I think he wanted to see if I could have an out of body experience, which I didn't believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, I did. Uh, so made it suddenly hard to not believe in it. Uh, but anyway, I guess I passed his test. So I wound up in the unit. Yeah.
How long did it take you to learn how to do that? The OBE, the out of body stuff.
I was there for 4 days, I think. And I think it happened on the third day. Uh, Totally unexpected to me
Mm-hmm.
because I flat didn't believe it. I I thought it was kind of stupid for me to be there. But if the general says you're going to be there,
It's
you're going
not
to be there.
stupid.
Yeah,
It's stupid not to do what the general
that's
says
right.
when the general says it.
Yeah, the general said, "Would you like to be in this unit?" What are you going to say? No.
Yeah, I would love to, General. I would absolutely love to. Okay. Now, on more kind of moving on to more contemporary
Yeah.
events, disclosure. Have you done any work or looked at various scenarios either through remote viewing or kind of in your um, professional work about what that timeline might look like?
Yeah.
Can you talk about it?
I was given a talk one time, and they said, "Give me a date for when contact will be made." And I said, "I think around, I don't know, July 20th or July the 5th, somewhere around there. And they said, "What year?" And I said, "I think about 1974."
Really?
Yeah. Uh, yeah,
When did
it's already
when
happened. It's already
when
happened. Come
when
on.
did that when did they ask you that question? Roughly what year, what time period?
Oh, that was after I got out of service. It was, I guess, around 95 or 96. Yeah. Uh, but, um, oh, yeah, contact's already been made. Uh,
And how did they define contact though? In right, because somebody
well,
who's steeped in all
official
this
con,
lore might
official con,
official. Okay, so
official
that doesn't
contact.
rule
Yeah.
out a Roswell or something like that.
Um, no, it includes Roswell. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so is this kind of the Roswell thing would have happened in 1947? Do you mean 1947 or 1974?
47. 47. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
July
Yeah.
1947
Uh,
is exactly
I'm
when
getting
Roswell
old.
happened.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here. I'm here just to keep you
Yeah.
straight, Lynn. Just to keep you okay. All right. So you saw that point, but did you see anything beyond that when kind of an official disclosure for the kind of the broad the rest of humanity might look like?
Well, yeah, that it will happen very slowly. It will happen gradually, and we will be prepared for it when it does. Uh, now, you know, such as, you know why they call them UAPs now, don't you?
Because they're probably not all UFO. Because I mean, it means unidentified anomalous phenomenon,
They
right? So
call
it
them
could be literally anything.
UAPs so they won't have to apologize to lying about us to us about UFOs.
Do they really think we're that stupid, Lynn?
Yeah,
I knew what your answer would be, but
and,
I had to. I
and
had
at
to.
some point they're right. Yeah, yeah, we go. Well, oh, UAPs. Yeah, that's good. The government. Yeah, they're never going to apologize to lying to us. Yeah.
And do you have a sense of when we might? And you said it's gradual, but
Yeah.
at what point are they going to say? I mean, do we have agreements? Do we have, or based on your experience, you might not know the answer to that, but
Well, yeah, the UFO bases. Many of them uh, are located in places where, kind of like Indian reservations, where the government has said, yeah, make your base here, and we won't bother you if you don't bother us. And so many of the UFO bases on Earth uh, are by agreement with governments. Yeah. Uh,
do you get a sense that we're communicating with multiple civilizations or just one primary civilization?
oh no, there's them and them and them and them and them and them and them. Yeah. Yeah.
Has there been any, to your knowledge, or any of the remote viewing that you've done, any evidence of genetic manipulation to different? Um,
I have I have no idea on that. Uh, I have I have never been tasked with that. So,
and then, in terms of other things, kind of other species that, when do you think, or through some of your projects, have you potentially learned when kind of those relationships might be revealed to the general public?
gradually over the years, yeah, um, they they will be leaked. They will be discovered. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
know, they're discovering uh, videos that have been taken on ships. Uh, Suddenly finding those in the archives. Hey, they knew about that the day it happened. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
It's military intelligence. They knew about it. Yeah.
Are they going to do it in a way such that it's not hopelessly mixed with disinformation and misinformation? Because that tends to be what the case is now. There's some stuff that's real. There's a lot, and there's a ton of stuff that's just.
Oh, yeah. Uh, you know, P.T. Barnum, man, you know, uh, I think P.T. Barnum said, never let a good disaster go to waste. And was always just pulling the flim flam over. And yeah, it will always uh, have a use for disinformation, for good information, and for using both good and bad information to control the population. Yeah, that's government. You
Yeah,
Governments do that. Yeah.
and also just hiding
I don't
legitimate
know what
programs and
is
things like
wrong
that.
with this computer. I'm sorry. Are you hearing the bleep every now and then?
No, I don't hear the
Oh,
bleep,
you're
but
not.
there's
That's
some
good.
static. There's some static on your end, but
Okay.
oh yeah, I'm hearing that now. I'm hearing like electricity kind of. a
That's
little bit.
KGB. Yeah,
Well,
ignore that.
FSB,
Yeah,
SVR, FSB. They're all
yeah.
yeah, they're all changed now.
No.
Even though, you know, they're the same face on a different front. But okay, I don't want to spend too much time on this because it's depressing,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I know you don't like to talk about it because I mean you know where I'm going, right? So you
Well,
did,
government's going to be government. Period.
yeah.
No.
Now you did a remote viewing project for a technology company, late '90s, early 2000s, about kind of the 2020 to 2040 time period. This is what I'm talking. I know you don't like to talk about it, so I want to be quick about it.
I won't say who that was for, but yeah.
And what did you see when you did that? And this starts in 2020, so
No,
we lived through
um,
3 years of it so
it was
far.
in 1998 that I did that. One of the first things I saw was that around 2020, there would be a um, major thing that would happen that would start um, people isolating from each other,
Mm-hmm.
would start people having relationships through technology
Mm-hmm.
that would start closing cities down, schools down, and things like that. Um, and I saw through future years. Actually, the first thing that I saw was that in 2012, late 2012, there was going to be a tipping point
Mm-hmm.
that before that tipping point, we could save the ecology, we could save humanity and all that. But after that tipping point, things were going to start going downhill. And I had no idea about the Mayan calendar, all of that.
Right.
But
So like the Bakun cycles and
yeah, and
yeah.
everybody was predicting dire death and all that. All I saw was that it was a tipping point. That before that we could do something. After that, too late. Yeah.
Was there a discrete event that was this tipping point?
No, it was just the accumulation of the neglect that we've done, and that the further after 2012, the faster downhill it would be going, um, and that people would try to do something about it, and there would be temporary and repeated successes, but that overall it was downhill, you know. Um, and I saw a lot of things. I have published the unclassified material, uh, but I haven't published any of the classified things I found. And that by the year about 2040,
Mm-hmm.
it would be so that an estimated 75% of the human population would be wiped out. Uh, but then, a lot of people are predicting that, and a lot of good, dependable people are predicting that. I went further, and uh, what I got was that by about 2060, the result of that endpoint of 2040, we will have um, risen up against the evils of government, the evils of monopolies, and everything else.
Yeah,
But that,
imagine trying to tax your people after three-quarters of them
oh
are
yeah,
gone.
yeah.
Good luck with that.
But that even after that, we will have learned to live separately,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the remaining population will be more agrarian, raising their own food. One of the things I got was that through technology, they would be making their own tools and
Hmm.
materials. Uh,
Yeah, we got
at,
that now. 3D printing. If
well,
you
and
know.
yeah, in 1998, we didn't have 3D printers, so
Hmm.
I didn't know, you know. Uh, but um, that by the year about 2060, the survivors would have a beautiful life. Uh, the trick is being a survivor.
Did you get a sense for what precipitated? Is this just? I know Stefan Schwartz did a similar exercise, came to
Yeah,
a
he did.
similar conclusion, but I think his thesis is it's more directly tied to climate change. Your
It is, yeah. I didn't find out about that until last year. And I got a report of what he had found, and they parallel.
Now, did you see anything else that was not related to climate change that may have contributed to this time of troubles in the next 17
Uh,
years?
yeah, I didn't focus that much on climate change in my session. Um, Mainly, what I found was the effects of people, um, the results of human activity, of governmental activity, of you know corruption, but also uh, the saving of religion by religion. Uh, Also, that the training of mental skills was
Hmm.
going to be the one of the things that saves the population. Um, right now, people are asleep. They really are, and that uh, at some point there will be a sort of mental renaissance that will
Hmm.
wind up saving uh, the population. Yeah.
And what would your recommendation be based on what you saw, both unclassified and classified? Advice would
Somebody
you give
asked
people?
me, you know, will there be survivors? And I said, if you want there to be survivors, be one. Work toward it. Turn off your TV, the propaganda machine, and uh, start training your mind. And it doesn't have to be remote viewing. Um, Educate yourself. You know,
Now, I think one thing you distinctly, well, I'll let you answer it. Did you see any of this caused by nuclear war?
I didn't see nuclear war, and I still don't. Uh, what I did see was that uh, tanks, rifles, weapons, missiles would be just old timey. Uh, that nations would learn how to use nature, and that there would be man made natural disasters. And come to find out, the Russians have developed earthquake weapons. We have
Hmm.
developed weather weapons. Different countries have have developed things like this. Um, um, a few years ago, there was an interview on Russian TV. To keep my Russian abilities up, I watched Russian TV, and there was this uh, uh, intel officer who was being interviewed. He was drunk as a skunk. I mean, drunk. And he started rattling off about the earthquake weapon. And he was bragging, saying that they had used the earthquake weapon on Fukushima as a test to see if it would work. And, they use it on the Canary Islands. The east coast of the United States is toast. It'll be wiped out. They use it on Yellowstone
And
National
these
Park.
are hypotheticals. These are hypotheticals. Is not exactly
These
what
are
you saw.
hypotheticals, but they're real.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. If they were to use it on Yellowstone National Park, the center of the United States gone. Um, such as that. Uh, yeah, it will come to the point where instead of having a battlefield where you have tanks and soldiers fighting each other, uh, a government or a military can just wipe out an area of the earth using nature to do it. Yeah.
Did you see cyber as a component of some of this
I
madness?
saw that um, I didn't identify it as cyber or AI or anything like that, but I saw that it would come to where uh, people, instead of dealing with each other person to person, would wind up um, depending on technology, and that the the remnant of the people would be spread out, would still stay separate from each other, and yet their technology would have advanced to the point where they wouldn't need to.
Is there a reason for that? In other words, was there some sort of another pandemic where they're not
Oh,
talking, or was it just?
there's going to be more pandemics. Yeah,
Did you see anything related to? So Ed Reardon. I don't know if you're familiar with Ed Reardon, or another remote
yeah,
viewer.
yeah. Mhm.
Oh yeah, yeah. So you probably know all about. He saw the pandemic. He also saw some of the amyloids in the clots and the blood clotting and things like
Yeah.
that. Did you see any of this would be kind of related to not only pandemics but also the cures? Let's just leave it at. I'm deliberately using very indirect words,
Yeah.
but I think you know what I'm talking about. Did you see any um, like a long tail of deaths associated with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say more. You can look in the
Well,
news.
and a lot of crop failures, starvation, things like that. Um, I saw that there was also natural disasters, not man-made. I had no idea about the grand solar minimum, uh, which
Mm.
is which is already starting, by the way.
Say more about the grand solar minimum. What does that mean? What is it?
The grand solar minimum is where the um, sun goes quiet. And as a process, the magnetosphere uh, uh, shrinks. More radiation can come in. Also,
Oh,
the
so it's our magnetosphere that
our
would reach a
magnetosphere,
minimum.
yeah,
Would reach a minimum. Okay,
and
yeah. So that can
also
protect it, right?
the forces that keep the magnosphere, okay, um, in place as it weakens. The polar shifts, the magnetic polar shifts will start, and that's happened. Uh,
I think
the
that
North Pole
happens.
is down in Russia now. Yeah,
I think that happens if you look at iron filaments in the oceans where the tectonic plates spread. There's
yeah,
usually a magnetic field shift or reversal every ten
yeah,
thousand years.
yeah,
Which now that I think about it, you think about um, the Younger Dryas event and things like that. Maybe it's
yeah.
kind of and okay. So not only are you seeing human or man-made natural disasters, but you're also seeing other sorts of natural. Do you see any comets, asteroids, meteorites, like impacts and
I
things like that?
didn't
Or
at the
okay,
time. I still don't. Uh, so
and then any concentration on any particular part of the globe where this decline is, or is it just
no,
kind
I
of
was tasked with the future of the U.S. What I got in the session was that it was going to be worldwide.
okay? I'm going to ask you this. You don't have to answer. It's super touchy for some reason. Did you ever meet Tim Taylor at
No,
the National Reconnaissance Office or Space Force or anything like
no.
that?
Um,
Okay, all right. I'm not gonna push that line of thought any further. Yeah, there's an intelligence figure that um, there have been podcasts that have whenever someone interviews Chris Bledsoe and he says this guy's name,
okay.
people get really touchy. So anyway, I'm not gonna push further. I mean, it's out there. It's been out there for a while, but okay. And then in terms of the disclosure, anything related to disclosure during that period that might make things spicy, right? Um,
In that session, I never got anything about ETs. Um, however, um, and that's in spite of the fact that before I went to the remote viewing unit, that's all I want to say about that. Um, I was doing some black projects uh, where there was ET involved, but let me just stop at that. Okay,
yeah, I'm not going to push.
good.
But that's a good segue though, because you did have, and you've talked about this publicly, so I think it's completely safe. There was a break, a 12-year break between when you were working on missiles in the Army, and I think you worked on Nike systems,
Yeah,
like Nike missiles.
yeah,
You left and became a minister. I think it was like a 12-year period,
and went to
and
college and all that. Yeah, yeah.
you were either at home or traveling somewhere in East Texas, if I can remember correctly, and something happened.
Oh, I think he meant um, I was traveling from Tucson to Phoenix one day, which is about an hour 45-minute drive somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped for a cup of coffee in Tucson, drove out of the parking lot, and 5 minutes later drove into Phoenix.
Oh, you never told
The
me this
coffee
story,
was
Lynn.
still boiling hot, too hot to drink, and I checked the time. It was about 5 or 10 minutes. Uh, so I have thought and thought and thought and thought for an explanation, and um, a comment that Ingo made to me one time sort of solidified it. Um, in learning CRV, you learn that everything they taught you about time is absolutely wrong uh,
Mm-hmm.
in school. And I was telling Ingo, I think I finally understand time. And he kind of smiled, puffed on his cigar, and said, Wait till you learn about space.
Well, what do you
Oh,
think happened? What happened?
I have no idea. I really don't. Never have figured it out.
Hmm. All right. Well, going to the other event that I was gonna get into, where you, this is when you were offered a job. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I had an abduction experience. Now, this was years and years before uh, I was in the ministry in East Texas uh, as a Methodist minister, and they moved their preachers
Mm-hmm.
from one church to another all the time. And uh, we were in the process of moving. My family had already moved to the new parsonage, and I was cleaning up the old parsonage. I had thrown everything into the U-Haul, and I was tired. It was at night. So I made a pallet down on the floor and laid down. I was wide awake, and I heard something land in the backyard. Now, the parsonage of that place was over a quarter mile off the road.
Mm-hmm.
And so that something would land in the backyard was strange. I tried to get up to go see what it was and couldn't move. I was frozen, but I was wide awake.
Roughly,
And
how old were you at this time?
uh, late 20s, no, early, mid 30s, I guess, mid 30s, I guess, somewhere around there. Uh, and I heard somebody coming through the grass around the house.
Mm-hmm.
And when I woke up, it was morning. I was standing at the back door looking out into the backyard. Couldn't figure out why. Turned around, threw the pallet into the U-Haul, and drove off, feeling like I had forgotten something. Uh, can you talk for a minute? There's somebody at the door. I'll be right back. I'll be right
Yeah,
back.
absolutely, absolutely.
I'm sorry.
All right, so I'll take a brief break, and I think that's a good time to remind folks that you are watching through a glass dark or listening to through a glass darkly radio with Sean Patrick Hazlett. I'm interviewing Lyn Buchanan, and it is you're listening to it on United Public Radio. So thank you again, and let's before Lyn comes back, what other questions do folks have? Let's see. All right, so Soul Light US expat is Soul Light. I got it. Can he ask about people he's seen with special abilities, like I think creating their own power and how it is possible, and is there a way to learn to do that or other abilities? Yeah, we can go into some of that. Yeah, I'm not even gonna say that word. I'll just put it up there. Yeah, I mean he didn't say specifically. It's probably just related to climate and everything else that's kind of going on in the world. And I mean, if you'll recall, roughly around 2014 is when the Russia Ukraine business started. But yes, he did. So the question is, wow, did he remote view after the abduction? So yes, he did actually, because he wasn't sure that it happened. So he, I don't know if he did it on his own, but he gave the target to his colleagues in the remote viewing unit, and they reported it without him telling them what happened. So yes, he did. So he had it remote viewed. Okay. Oh wow, it's a little spicy. So Solite, you're in Panju. You live about 6 miles from the DMZ. Yeah, they North Koreans can range all of Seoul, so it's it's a little. If that war broke out, it would be ugly. Yeah, Lyn Buchanan is the best. I wouldn't say he never saw that, and I'm not gonna say the words, but I don't know. I don't know if he saw specifically that, but he saw, and he's not. Well, I'm not. He's not gonna. It's in these sorts of situations. It's never quiet in different ways. But you know, unrest is probably to be expected in when you have fewer resources, anywhere in the world. Is there anything with remote viewing related to the beings people communicate when on DMT? I I haven't asked him that question, but I ever have asked Morehouse, and I think the answer was kind of a completely different thing. Ah, yeah, I know some Korean, but um, yeah, I don't know what would happen. Well, well, no, I'm not gonna because if somebody who speaks Korean heard me say it, it might get into trouble. Here we go. Looks like Lynn's back. Let me.
No, I do not want my driveway repaved.
There we go.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
so
did.
someone was trying to get you to. Somebody's
No,
trying
I
to.
have I have company coming in tonight. I thought that's who it was, but
Oh, just somebody selling you
I
something.
don't want my driveway repaved. Yeah.
Selling you snake. Actually, just really quick. I don't want to get spend too much time on it, but speaking of building improvements and things like that, how's the remote view ranch coming?
The ranch, uh, the ranch is coming on fine. We've gotten new funding. Uh, we've gotten the road fixed to where we can get people in and out, and we've gotten the RV hookups so that people can bring RVs in. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
we've also gotten uh, some construction started, so uh, we're we're working on it. It's coming along. Yeah,
All right, and then have you taught any courses yet in the remote viewing ranch?
I'm
Or
teaching online. Yeah, I'm teaching online now. Yeah.
okay, and then where can folks find those courses?
Uh, CRVIEWER, crviewer.com. Down at the bottom of the open page, there are links to pre-sign up videos that will tell you about the course
Mm-hmm.
to let you know what you're getting into before you put down any money.
Right.
I believe in that. I'm a firm believer in that. Yeah,
And do you have kind of beginner, intermediate, and advanced classes? Do you have like
I
a
do.
wide variety?
I do.
Okay.
Now, I have the basic courses uh, online. The signing for it. Now, when you finish the basic course, then I give you the link to the intermediate and then to the advanced. Yeah.
And then, all right. So going back into the general interview, um, one of the things I wanted to ask you, and this is like the typical skeptic question that people will
Good.
ask about remote viewing, and I know you have a story about it, so it's not going to be a cold question.
Right.
All right. So if remote viewing is so great, why isn't everybody correctly winning the lottery?
Because numbers, especially, are extremely hard to remote view uh, correctly. You
Mm-hmm.
can you can remote view them very easily. Getting the correct numbers, that's hard. Uh, and so, uh, but it's that way for natural psychics too. And
Mm-hmm.
so, uh, uh, the lottery. Uh, uh, you know, if you want to make money with the associated with you and all, I'd say bet on races. Bet
Hmm.
on races. It's easier than the numbers. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could also. I mean, I'm going to go into way too much depth for a general audience, but you can do something in investing called pair trading, and
Oh
pair
yeah.
trading is where you have two stocks. You buy one stock, and usually the stocks are related, right? So one might be Budweiser or Anheuser Busch, but the other one might be Coors Light. Or
Yeah.
Coors, right? Molson Coors, and you buy one stock and then you short the other one, and that way you can profit off of the difference in performance.
I hate,
So if you
I hate the stock market because it's so linguistically garbaged up that nobody can understand it,
except the people making the money, that's why they do it to
except the
prevent
people
everybody from
making
making
the
the
money.
money.
Yeah.
Right,
But
right.
somebody else gets into it, even with remote viewing. There's so many gimmicks and so many ins and outs and everything else that knowing what a stock's going to do basically does you no good. Uh, uh, you can make more with options by not buying stocks than you can by buying stocks. And like you say, there's whatever there was you were talking about. I,
Yeah, pair trades, pair trades.
oh,
You pair. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Now I know you did this once though with the lottery, right?
oh yeah,
There was you got to tell that story because this is a good
yeah. I was
illustration of that.
I was at the defense
There's something weird about your audio, your volume. So if you
I'm not
got
sure what's wrong. This has got to be the most messed up interview you've had in a long time. Uh,
no, it is pure gold. It's just that people are gonna I'm gonna get a billion complaints about like what's that static? I
oh
mean,
yeah,
it's better than my most watched interview. The host said
I'm sorry for all the
it,
difficulties.
they
Um,
probably somebody probably doesn't want us to talk.
I guess.
But I mean, the last time I think there was another interview where like they just cut me off. Remember? I mean, it was pre-recorded, so it was fine. But
Yeah.
yeah, where it's just like you just lost me, right?
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. Uh,
yeah.
uh, I was up at the Defense Intelligence Agency.
Hmm.
I had a full day's work there, and there was nothing happening. And I was sitting around. There was a $40 million lottery that day, and I thought, I've got the time. I'm
Hmm.
going to try it. And so uh, it was six number lottery, pick six. And so I worked all day on it, honing it down, rolling it down, got all of the numbers, and I was in Washington, D.C. I lived in Maryland. And
Hmm.
so on the way home,
Repeat that because that becomes important. You were living
oh,
where?
I was working in D.C. I lived in Maryland.
Okay,
So
working in D.C., lived in Maryland. Okay.
so on the way home, I bought a lottery ticket with those six numbers. The next morning, I read the newspaper and I had gotten all six numbers correct for the DC lottery. I bought my ticket in Maryland for the Maryland lottery. You can't
Yeah, it's
win.
about as useful as a football bat, right?
Yeah.
So what do you make of that? What do you make of that? Is there some
Oh,
trickster element to this, like some
it was
subconscious element?
It was that little badness kid inside saying, "You gamble, you're going to hell."
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your subconscious is basically
Oh, yeah.
sabotaged you. All right. Uh, all right. So I think we have about 9 minutes left. So I want to
I'm
give you a
sorry for
chance
all
to,
the delay and interruption and all that. I'm sorry.
Lynn. I'm telling you, the whole everything was gold. Trust me. People
Okay.
will love some of the
I
stuff
hope
that's
so. Yeah.
that's come out. Okay. So what do you make of kind of the abilities that you kind of have? Because a lot of this stuff appeared. The movie, The Men Who Stared at Goats. One of the George Clooney character was based on
Yeah.
like three people, and you were one of them.
Yeah.
What do you make of that portrayal, if you want to call it that?
Oh, I thought it was funny. Uh, he made that whole movie made absolute fun, just ridicule of everything we did in the unit. I thought it was hilarious. Many of the other guys in the unit got mad over it. Um, they did part of the filming out here at White Sands, just a few miles from me. They wouldn't let
Hmm.
me onto the set.
Yeah, because they knew it was a hit job. They didn't want you,
Yeah, they knew that it was a hack job. Yeah.
right.
So I could have told them a whole lot funnier stuff, more ridiculous stuff that happened.
You have any stories that you might be able to share in these last few minutes about some of the?
Oh, not that I can think of right off, but yeah, we did some we did some really funny stuff. We would carry stuff in the field and have viewers in the unit go out with dowsing rods trying to find what was buried in the field. We wandering around the field.
Tell me you didn't send people to like heavily populated areas to do that, because that sounds like something
Uh,
a good
no,
prank.
no, and
Okay.
we uh, we were we were housed in condemned buildings. Uh,
Hmm. Yeah, these are
they
kind of the buildings that were built in like World War II, like post World
oh,
War II sort of.
we were
Yeah.
the bastard children of the intelligence community. Nobody wanted to admit we existed. Um, uh, we were looked at with suspicion and fear uh,
Yeah.
because
They thought it
there
was
were no
demonic.
secrets. There were no secrets at all.
Yeah.
Um, and so a lot of people in the government were actually scared of us because they want their secrets.
Hmm. Do you think the government's still doing this?
I'll give you my standard answer, okay? I hope
Yep,
so,
of course. Yeah.
because it would be stupid for them not to. So that their company, I think. So that changes the question to, does the government ever do anything stupid?
Is
No.
that a trick
Uh,
question, Lynn?
but the fact is, when you retire, they quit
Hmm.
telling you things. So uh, I have my opinions to the answer to that, but I have no proof either way.
Yeah, there was an interview that was on Project Unity yesterday with a DARPA official. His name was Dr. Michael Moran, and
Yeah.
he claimed that they were still doing it,
There are
which is not.
there are many indicators that they are.
Yeah, and then, I mean, I imagine they're also contracting and stuff like that, but
Oh yeah.
I'm not. Okay, now there was something I think you told me in the past, going back to the Men Who Stared at Goats. There was actually one of your, or someone you may have known, who actually was able to, kill one of these animals by doing that, and
Uh,
then kind of had.
there was somebody who did the that actually happened. That actually
Yeah.
happened. Yeah. I didn't know him personally.
But I think he struggled with it though, right? There was something weird, like
Oh yeah,
something.
uh, I heard that it affected him so badly that he went AWOL. AWOL.
Oh, he went AWOL. I didn't know that.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. And in the movie, it shows him getting into a helicopter and disappearing. And that's when I heard that I heard that he stole a helicopter and went AWOL. And they,
Did you know how to fly one? You just
yeah,
steal.
yeah.
Okay. All right. I think we about 3 minutes left. So, anything you want to tell the audience about remote viewing and any other general advice about the nature of reality? Nature of reality sounds pretty simple,
The remote
straightforward thing
viewing
to talk
is the
about.
neat thing you'll ever learn. It teaches you how to get in touch with your own subconscious mind. And the thing is, that changes your life for the better. Um, they say you are who you are in the dark, and that you the the whole thing in life is to become friends with yourself. Once you learn
Mm-hmm.
how to work with your own inner self, uh, you talk about changes in your life. Um, I know Russell Carr says that the remote viewing, spying, and gaining information and all that is just like 1% of the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that that's true. Yeah.
When you remote viewed people, have you ever had the sense that they could see you or perceive you when you were doing it?
Only, only certain in ethics. Yeah. But
And
uh,
I think this
what
was Mount Hayes, right? Where they just kind of noticed you and they said, feel free to
Mount
take a
Seal,
look.
Mount Seal, Mount Seal in
Oh,
Australia.
Mount
Yeah.
Zeal. Okay. Did you get a chance
Uh,
to see what they looked like? Kind of what the entities look like?
oh yeah.
What did they look like? Were they grays?
It's great. Yeah. Now in Mount Zeal, there were humans. There were military humans. Uh, there were ETs of different types. Uh, I was the only one I've ever heard of. Um, there was an ET there with an ET child, a gray child, and they were waiting for a ship to come. Um, and I think that's the only report I've ever heard of an ET child, a gray child.
How? So you're
Um,
saying like a child, right?
yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Hmm. And did you get any perception of what that meant or what it was? Like,
That there might be families living here. I don't. I know there are I knew there are ETs living here, but I didn't know there were families of any kind. Um,
all right. Well, Lynn, I think we're at the end of the hour, so
I'm
I
sorry
appreciate
for all
you.
the difficulties. Uh,
That's it.
uh,
I think we'll be good. I think people will
Good.
appreciate the perspective, and it's always good to see you, my friend. It's always
Good
good
to
to see
see
you.
you. Good talking to you. Yeah.
Yeah, sometime in person at some point.
Okay. You know that I can do mental, PK, right?
Yeah.
If you're up by this way and you don't stop to visit, you're in trouble. Okay.
All right. I just drove through your state over the summer, so
Oh,
I should have.
yeah. You
But
should have stopped. Yeah.
yeah, I should have
Coffee's
stopped.
coffee's hot. The welcome mat, right side up. Stop. Yeah.
All right, my friend.
Good
It's always
seeing.
fun talking to you. All right, you have a great, you know, great rest of the day, and we'll definitely talk
I
soon.
think I'm going to go throw this computer in the trash.
That's very calmly. I'm just glad you didn't get angry enough for it to just fizzle out.
Yeah.
But all right, my
Thank you
friend.
very much.
All right, talk soon.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye. All right, thanks everyone, and see you next week. Terry Lovelace is coming back. You know, hopefully the scheduling stuff is all good. But y'all have a great night. Talk soon.
Thank you, John.